Welcome everyone to episode 56 of the Pickleball Effect podcast. I'm Braydon.
And I'm Kyle.
All right, dude, we'll give our weekly update here. Go to Kyle's corner. We're going to talk about the huge USAP update. We finally have guidelines on what their future testing is going to look like, what the numbers are, and how they're doing it.
And how quickly it's being implemented.
Yeah, we got dates. I mean, they have all the details. It's pretty exhaustive. And we'll go over that. Really, really exciting. Like, anyways, a lot of questions. Or like, we'll bring everything to the table, and then we have some questions we're going to talk through about it and kind of how that changes things. And then we're going to finish with Babble. We're going to do a company tier list. So we came up with 12 brands. We're going to rank them on a number of factors that we came up with and just kind of debate. So we did this blind.
Yeah, we have no idea.
I did it by myself. You did it yourself.
I guarantee they're different.
Oh, they have to be.
Yeah, I guarantee they do. I think we'll have some similarities, but I think there'll definitely be some discourse.
Definitely. Yeah, we're gonna that'll be interesting. So before we jump to Kyle's corner, a bunch of stuff going on this week. What's your weekly update? What'd you have going on?
Not much other than got a couple paddles, and then the TFP Open was like the big thing that happened this week. That I did some commentating. You did some commentating.
I just did one game. Did you do more than that?
No, I just won one game with Susanna, and then it was cool though because like everybody commentated. Abe was killing it.
Well, I mean, he does that for a living.
Exactly.
He's so good at it.
I was like, I felt so like I watched him do it. Like after I did it, I'm like, man, I suck. Like it's harder than people think.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like trying to come up with it live, be somewhat entertaining and like informative.
Well, then I was trying to like hold back my bias. Like I just wanted to root for Mariana and Lucas the whole time.
Oh, I was rooting for Boise.
Yeah. Okay.
You
just let your bias show.
Yeah, I was like,
okay.
So this is who I am. Those are my people. That was fun. Pickleball wise, TFP Open. So I played in the men's Open, went 0-2, went out real quick. It was a competitive bracket. Right, I was definitely on the low man on the totem pole in this bracket.
No easy draw there.
But I was happy with how I started though. Like we've talked about this before. Like at the beginning of the year, like I kind of had a hard time starting quick. I didn't come out with my best stuff in the first couple of games, and I feel like I've kind of broke through that. So I actually played my best pickleball in that first game. Like we played a good team. We were competitive. We were scoring. We, made them beat us.
It was pretty close too, right? It was.
I mean, they beat us 11-5, 11-6.
Yeah. You guys had some moments of greatness though. Or?
No, but like I felt good about it. Like I came out and acting like I belonged. I was shooting. I was going for it. I was moving. I didn't, play timid or anything like that. And so I liked where my headspace was, and I felt good about that. And then we just didn't play good the second game and just got eliminated there. But it's always good to get reps. Competitive reps against different teams, better teams, and just see new things. So I don't regret it at all. But shout out to Brittany and Kadum. You met them.
I did. I met them.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They were super nice.
So they know a kid here that's going to school from Portland. They're both from Portland. And a few weeks before they had signed up for the tournament, they knew we lived here, and they reached out to me saying, asked if they could set up some games while they're in town. So we played the night before the tournament while they were here, and it was so fun. Like they know more about pickleball than we do.
Oh man,
they're like really into it. They're really sharp, and like Brittany was like correcting me on some stuff we were saying on the pod or like adding things, and they were great. But big shout out to them. I'm glad they reached out. Had a lot of fun. Really, really cool. If we will, we'll run into them again.
Yeah, they both did good. He took first in 4-5.
Yeah, Kadum took gold in 4-5 men's. And then Brittany took bronze. I believe.
Yeah. Was that 4-5
mix? 4-5 mix. Yeah. Both really good players. Yep. They only beat me in one game though.
Only one. Who were you playing with?
So it was me, Kadum, Brittany, and then Luke.
Okay.
And yeah, they beat me on the last game. I'd won every game going into the last one, and I let them know that. And Kadum got real fired up.
They put it all on the line for the last one.
Yeah, they were great. I'm glad they reached out. And then just a funny story for like a life story. This was a first for me. So my family's at Low Family Farmstead, that like
pumpkin patch,
the pumpkin patch place. And so my brother was in town, and we're roaming, and my 33-year-old's like acting like she needs to go to the bathroom. I'm like, Holston, you need to go to the bathroom? She's like, no. She's playing, right? She doesn't want to go to the bathroom. So like 30 minutes later, she comes up to me. We're like in the little corn pit. She's like, Dad, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm like, how bad? She's like, it's almost in my underwear. I'm like, oh crap. So I pick her up, do like a little shuffle jog, felt like a half mile going towards the bathrooms. I go into the men's bathroom. All the stalls are taken.
Oh no.
There's just urinals left. And so I had her go in one of the men's urinal, and never had to do that before. Have you ever had to do that one?
No.
So I just held her, put her as close as I could, and she went, and she stayed pretty dry. We didn't get anything on the floor. I was really impressed with us.
That's awesome. That's a similar story, but like I went into my daughter, same thing. She had to go, and she's just now potty trained, and I had to the only thing open was a stall, but it was disgusting. So I had to just hold her and hover.
Yeah,
because I was not going to sit her down.
Yeah. The hold and hover is every parent's got to learn that one.
Yeah, being a dad's fun.
And anyway, it's the second I put her over the toilet, it just started flowing. We were
it was close,
a half second longer, and we didn't have anything to change. It would have been,
that's the worst.
Bad, but we made it. Anyway, so that was the first.
I love it.
Shout out to Halston. She held it in.
That's
especially
good.
while I was jogging, we were bouncing.
Yeah.
It had been tough.
Your bladder's bouncing.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. So Chris and Isaac are coming this week.
Yep. Chris and Isaac from Pickleball Studio coming up Friday.
They're so we mentioned that they're starting this new series where they're playing other just pickleball influencers. So they're coming here, and we've had some chatter back and forth.
A little bit of banter.
A little bit of banter, a little bit of giving, take there. And so Chris doesn't get into it as much as Isaac does. I'm getting into an Isaac a little bit, and it got to a point with Isaac where I text Chris. I'm like, is Isaac, is he taking this serious? I'm not sure. We're just having fun with this. And he's like, no. He has fun with it. He doesn't, take it to heart or anything. But we got to a point where I was like, oh man, I think he's
taking it to heart.
He's really taking it to heart. I mean, it's got to a little bit.
He's actually probably in the wilderness with shirtless with a log on his back, and he's running sprints with it. He's getting ready.
Could be. But I do think we've raised the bar a little bit for this match.
Oh yeah,
there's some pride on the line for sure. This is the one that got me though. So, in one of our shorts on Instagram, you put our comments
about you being in Isaac's head.
Yeah. And so Chris comments on that one, and he says, I'm finally ready to hand off the 3.5 mantle to you guys. And I'm like, okay, first off, Chris he'll trash talk a little bit, but not much. But this one in particular,
it hurt.
This one didn't hurt. It just it made me feel I'm like, okay, he's looking for somebody to hand this off to, and he picks us as one of the first teams to go play. So he thinks he can just come in here,
it's risky,
and hand off this mantle to us, and he's declared it. So,
oh man, I'll throw some trash talk out. He probably should have picked Pickleball Pursuit first. Love you guys.
But that one was okay,
yeah,
I'm bringing it all here. We're gonna. I'm feeling, I got a little personal there. Okay, we're gonna bring our game.
It's gonna be fun.
The
setup's gonna be great. It'll be good. A few people said they're coming to watch, so
yeah,
I think we'll attract a little bit of a crowd. Hopefully,
it'll be fun in our corner. It'll be cool for the video too if we have a little crowd.
Yeah,
because there are some stands right next to that court. But excited to have them come. It'll be fun. They're staying here, and then Aaron's staying here, so we're having a full house.
Yeah.
And then
3 kids, 3 guests, and then you and the wife. Yeah.
Yes, they're gonna see my life up close.
None of them have kids, right?
I don't think so.
All right, it'll be good eye opener for them.
Yeah, for better or for worse. What paddle are you gonna be using?
I am
for this little event that we're doing.
I'm gonna be using the Shogun. I got a fresh one, and I got the new slice sent to me, the red one with the Shogun on the bottom. So I'm gonna set that up and play with that.
So Bread and Butter is selling that slice on their website, right?
Yes.
So they did a little collab.
Yeah, a lot of brands are doing collabs with Slice right now.
Yeah, I think it's clever.
But yeah, that was to me and I no bias, but that actually to me was the coolest one.
It looks sweet.
Yeah, I was they did a good job. Will's is cool too, but I do like that they're getting more artsy on the designs.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And then they I guess we can talk about this later with Slice about their kind of new product, but okay, another thing here is just a little update on Stack stuff. So they came out with some their new fall collection that I wanted to give a shout out to. They also released these new performance tees.
Yeah, that looks nice.
And I'm really digging it. So they're a little bit slimmer than their zip tees. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit lighter. They still have that micro ventilated material. They're super, super comfortable.
Yeah, it's perforated. It looks nice.
And anyways, this one, it fits me really well, and I'm like really stoked on these. And I like their zips, but I like these more. And so I'll be recommending these a bunch.
I'll say I would wear that before I wore a zip.
Yeah, the zip one's a little more kind of fashion forward. You have to, feel real good about wearing it out there. And they have like some new bold colors in their fall collection, and they're sweet. I do think they look sharp. It looks really good on video. The zip tees do.
I like the purple. Is it like lavender? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
they like a lavender, and then the new green ones that look really sharp. But really stoked on these. So like the things I recommend the most are their tourney shorts. I'll be recommending these. And then I love their hoodies. So go check out these new shirts from Stack. Use the code 15effect for 15% off. If you decide to get anything, I'll put a link in the description. But Stack's killing it. They're really, another thing I like is like they're just, the branding's subtle, but the colors are really solid, like a little more muted, not super bright, but still colorful, still show some personality. And they're always crushed on the colors. All right, I think anything else for the weekly update?
I don't think so.
All right, let's go to Kyle's Corner.
Kyle's Corner, brought to you by Slice, as we just talked about. So Slice is the weighted butt cap, brings that balance point down. They did just come out with a new product. He actually posted photos of it, so I know we can talk about it now. They just released a adjustable weighted Slice. So you have like a little disc that has different weights that you can screw inside of the Slice before you install it on your paddle. So it gives you a little customization of how much weight you want on your paddle. I thought that was pretty slick.
Yeah, I think it's smart. They have been talking about adding some sort of adjustable weight to their caps, which I think is definitely, like, the way they designed it is an upgrade from the original models. I think they're going to come out with like a 1/2 ounce and a 1 ounce with the adjustable weight on the inside. It is still kind of a pain in the butt to like have to pull it off, change the weight, put it back on. But I know that they're aware of that and they're thinking that through.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
But it's definitely, I still think it's an upgrade.
Yeah. All right. First order of business, we had a massive USAP update talking about the PBCoR implementation. Spin rate test is coming. But along with that comes fee increases and, deadlines, which is going to affect, I feel like a lot of this stuff affects paddle manufacturers quicker than it affects us. With what they have coming out and just the whole timeline of things. You had a chance to get through it. The big thing was November 1st, new certs for paddles are going to include the PBCoR test.
Yeah, these are like key dates.
Yeah.
So first key date is November 1st.
Like in 2 weeks.
In like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. All new paddle certification submissions.
Correct.
Is going to include the PBCoR test.
And we'll apply that new fee structure.
So I'm blanking here. Did you explain what the PBCoR test is for those who don't know?
No, we talked about it many episodes ago.
Yeah, let's talk about that first.
Okay, so you have like an air cannon basically pointed at your paddle that's held. And they do it's held at a certain point and stuff to hit a certain spot on the paddle. The ball is holeless. And like you noted, it's basically an X40, but no holes.
Yeah, and that's just to improve the consistency of
because
the
when
shot.
you have the holes, if it hits differently, it actually gives you different results. So it's just like a control. So it's shot from this air cannon at 60 miles per hour at your paddle. That rebound speed is basically calculated. And then they did it with a ton of paddles and decided what's too hot, basically.
Yeah. So the PBCoR test measures that rebound speed. This is the excellent velocity test that we've been hoping for
a long
months.
time. Yeah.
And it's here. And all of a sudden it's like, bam, 2 weeks, it's happening.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what the PBCoR test is. So
the number they're going to go off for the beginning is going to be 0.44, and that's going to have 1 year before it goes down to 0.43. And I actually have kind of a thought behind that. I have a feeling that 0.44 is very close to some of the hot paddles we have now on the market, which is basically going to give them 1 year before I don't know if that's true, but in the way they did those numbers and how it's going to decrease after 1 year, that it makes me feel like some of those hotter paddles are closer to that threshold.
Yeah, I agree. That way they don't like delist a bunch of stuff initially, and they just kind of work their way into
exactly.
And like these numbers are they seem arbitrary at first, or like not arbitrary, but like it's hard to like comprehend like what that number means.
Because
like
they didn't give us
0.43, and so in the documentation they sent out to all the manufacturers of like how they sent out this like super detailed like 11-page document of like how this test is run. the numbers they're using, how they get the numbers, how they like, it was really detailed and really, really good. Like,
with all the math too.
All the math.
Yeah.
And like everything was there. You could go replicate it if you had the money.
Mm-hmm. We can't share a lot of that stuff. It's actually, did you see those are confidential?
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah. Don't share those documents.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I won't share the document. I haven't yet.
Okay.
But in this document, it is like the formula they use for this. And so I tried to like break it down and like simplify. It's like, okay, what does that 0.44 mean? I think in its simplest terms, it represents the like percent rebound. So like, let's say the cannon shot at 100 miles per hour and bounced off at 44. So
that's how
so
I
the
understand
0.44 is like a 44% rebound rate.
Yeah.
I guess is how you can think
of it. That's how I thought of it. Yeah.
And so it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Like they take into account, like I think the paddle like swings a little bit.
And it was like different points on the paddle too, right? Thought it picked like, I'd have to pull up the document again. So like 3 points.
Yep. They
something.
Calculate the center of percussion and they find like 3 points where they're shooting the ball at. So they take measurements in those 3, like basically the sweet spot of the paddle where it should be the hottest.
Exactly.
And then they get the measurements off those 3 and make sure none of them are above that threshold of 0.44. Yeah. So that's, and like reading the email and documentation, it made it sound like there's going to be some that are removed.
Yeah. Yeah. The way it reads. And I stick with, I think that 0.44 is going to be those top mod TA.
So we might not see a bunch of removals immediately.
I don't think so. I think that gives them a year, which in a year, life cycle of a paddle, a year is huge. Most brands come out with 4 paddles a year.
Say a mod TA, you're most likely going to be fine for the next year.
For the next year.
But once that paddle runs out of its life, get something else.
Yeah. That's my speculation, at least.
Yeah. So finishing off on some of these core dates. So November 1st is when it's starting. April 1st, all existing paddles that fail will be removed from competition. So this is April 1st, 2025. This is, was that 5 months away?
Yeah.
Just 5-6 months away. So if you have a paddle that exists, it's not passing that 0.44 exit velocity test, you will not be allowed to be in tournaments. November 1st, which is a year from now, is when the test is going to drop from 0.44 to 0.43. And then May 1st, 2026, all 0.44 paddles will be removed from sanctioned tournaments. So
I guess you technically then you basically have like a year and a half.
Assuming it passes the 0.44.
Exactly.
But if it doesn't, then you only have till April. So we don't know.
Yeah, they didn't give us any reference paddles. Like, I wish they would have been like, there's a power error. It's 0.42. This is like, just like for us, to hit somebody back. Yeah, so we could like
associate a number with the paddle.
Exactly. And then they didn't give any of that, which drives me nuts.
Yeah. But I do think it was really impressive, the documentation that came through. You could tell it was done right.
Oh, yeah.
And USAP collaborated with, I don't know if we even said this. We said it was USAP that was doing this, not UPA. And then they collaborated with a company called Element US Space and Defense. And they're like, when you look through their website, their entire existence is creating custom tests like this for ballistics, like really complicated stuff that means a lot. Like heavy stuff.
When I did that Zoom meeting with USAP and all the manufacturers that I got onto, they gave, because they did it in person and on Zoom, they actually gave the people that went in person like a tour of that whole lab.
That's cool.
But they didn't show us on Zoom because I guess a lot of stuff, because they do a lot of stuff like the military and ballistics and stuff. So they don't want you to see everything that's going on in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I just feel like it was really well done, really impressive with everything that came out versus like some of the UPAA stuff. They're like, they're just kind of throwing out numbers, but not sharing the documentation. So it's a little frustrating kind of seeing how they get to those numbers. And while I actually, a lot of people are giving UPA crap, I kind of applaud them for like trying to decrease power, try to bring things down. Although that it does feel a little bit like on their heels as they're just kind of pushing things out without being like exhaustive.
It's like they want to get it quicker than you. It almost feels like a race.
It does. It does. And I feel like they were trying to kind of be first to market. But this USAP, like the way they launched it, like these dates seem very reasonable. They're giving people a lot of time. Everything's very scientific.
Other than the 2-week thing, that was like
that came up pretty fast.
Yeah. But other than that, I feel like the schedules, you got a year to a year and a half, basically.
Right. Yeah. So if you do have a hot one, that's over. So I messaged Ronbus because I have a Ripple review coming out soon.
Okay.
And I'm like, did you pass? Or are you getting
PBCoR?
Yeah. Did you pass PBCoR? And they said that they did get tested. They had like a little conference call with Carl.
Yep.
and Carl told them that their test came in at 0.43.
Oh, okay.
And the ripple's pretty hot.
Yeah, that's hot.
So assuming that's the peak, like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's hot, but it's not like
it's hot and it's powerful, but like it's enough where like, okay, we actually have a power paddle category.
Yes.
We have a all court category, and like you can still have these 3 categories. They didn't tone it back so much where like power paddles don't exist.
Mm-hmm. And that will end the race to see how powerful we can make a paddle. That's what I want. I don't want there to be like this arms race.
Yep. Yeah, and that was the purpose of this, right? Is to shut that down, give us a limit, and there you go. Go find a way to hit that limit, and you can have it. And so that's like the only reference I have to these numbers is the ripple came in. So that they said they don't have like official. They emphasized that like this isn't like 100% bulletproof.
He's like off the record.
But we did. I told them I was going to report on the pod, and they shared me. They sent it to me. So I think they feel pretty confident that theirs is going to pass at 0.43. And so I feel like that's kind of our frame of reference here.
So, but now I'm curious because they pulled the 16. Like, what did the 16? Like, I want to know. I want to know what the 16 that got delisted did.
Yeah. So if you haven't been following Ripple news, the original Ripple 16 was submitted, approved, and then they delisted the 16 because it was for whatever reason. And then, assuming because it was too hot, and then they made it in the 14 millimeter, which did pass.
Yep.
Okay. So that's some of the, I don't know. I guess the other thing we got to finish with here is the cost, because this is another thing that changed. Do you know what the original costs were? Was it 1,500?
Well, they've gone up a couple times. I have from a brand that it was 1,500 cert, 500 similarity.
So if you want to get a paddle approved, it would
and you have to send but everything's changed since, because it used to be you send, I think 4 samples. Now you send 6 samples.
So just looking at the money, as far as we know, it was 1,500 to get a paddle certified, and 500 per similarity. And a similarity is different thickness, different shape.
Exactly. 16 versus 14. Exactly.
Those kind of things. So for example, the Yola 3S comes to mind. Like they have like 4 different shapes, and then 2 thicknesses for each shape. So they would have paid 1,500 had they gone through USAP. They had paid 1,500 for like the series, and then or for the initial paddle, and then 500 per variation.
Exactly. And I think that's mainly because the technology in it's not changing.
The technology is the same, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the core, like everything's the same other than thickness and then head shape, handle length, whatever. And so now they're changing the cost to 4,500 for that initial paddle certification, and then what was this? I wrote it down. 1,750
for the similarities.
Yep. So the similarities got like a 3 times jump. They both got like 3x cost.
Yes. And they offer a one-time. So if paddles that are already certified, they're offering like a one-time fee to get it PBCoR certified.
Yeah. I didn't see what that was, but that makes sense.
I think it was like $1,500. It
was like $1,500.
Yeah.
So the costs are going up.
Yes.
Like
drastically.
Like 3x pretty much. Okay. These are the questions I wrote down of like, what does this mean? So one was, do we think that this power test is adequate? Like because we like right now, Q and I measure power and pop as like 2 separate things. And like, does this only account for power? Is it kind of a middle ground? Because like some paddles, like you can make paddles that are super poppy, but aren't super powerful.
Correct. So
like, can you still game this test a little bit?
I think so, but I think in the end it is going to test absolute power, because I did some research on the test, and this test is used in other industries like softball, and I think somebody said no, golf's different, but maybe somebody said golf was the same. But like this isn't like a new test they came up with, so I trust
they just like adapted it
exactly. So like I trust the science is there to give us an accurate representation of like total exit velocity. But I do think that we've proven that not all powerful paddles are poppy.
Yeah.
But
you kind of get 2 profiles, right? You can have like high power, low pop, which is the most common, but you can also have low power, high pop, like a Bantam ALW.
But what's our ultimate goal? We kind of want to slow down power, right?
I think we kind of slow down both. We want to slow down both a little bit. Or at least cap both.
Because pop, you got to think is that acceleration and it's going to get faster than the eye can comprehend.
Yeah. And so, yes, this test is fantastic. I love it. I think it's great.
Just a step in the right direction.
But I do feel like it could be a little more nuanced in the future. And then another thing that I thought of is like, what about destructive testing?
I know they have plans for that, right? But they didn't release.
They do have plans for that.
I think they had talked about that on the meeting months ago, but there was nothing in that about how they were going to do destructive.
So that's not being. They did mention they're going to do like teardowns,
and they still
things like that.
And they still, even in that meeting, they mentioned they will go, kind of random, like secret shopper, go buy one randomly from a retailer and just test a random.
They
one.
hired in that email they sent to everyone. They hired a compliance manager that kind of do that secret shopping thing,
which that's cool because we've seen different batches of paddles be totally different. Like even between me and you, like a paddle you got and a paddle I got, the numbers are way different just because of the.
Not way different, but they are different
enough that I feel like 0.44 versus 0.43 it's pretty small percentage.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah, that's tough. Anyways, I love it. I think it's great. Like it feels good, but I do think more and more. I think it's going to get better and better over time. And my next question was like, do you think this helps or hurts innovation? Because you have the price increase, but now we also have the guidelines. Does this help or hurt innovation?
I think it's going to change innovation where everybody's been innovating about how to make their paddles more powerful and might drive innovation in a different direction, like materials, make it last longer. I know Selkirk's working on making their paint grit last way longer than carbon fiber. I just think innovation is going to change. I think we're not going to see as many people like, how hot can I make a paddle with foam?
Sting and the deflection.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that. That's a good point. Like, okay, we have the limit. Like, I bet people can hit that limit real quick. Like, it would probably be really easy to figure out what the formula is to get 0.43. And now, how do I differentiate myself in other ways with longer lasting stuff? So now paddles companies aren't thinking power. They're thinking power plus something else.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing. And I know a lot of brands were just like waiting for this information to come through.
So we might, like next year, we might see a flood of new technology.
I think we're going to see a flood of new technology and a flood of 0.43 paddles.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of companies were like, okay, now that we know what we're building for, let's go build it. And we're just going to see just a floodgate of 0.43 paddles. And everyone's going to advertise that 0.43 limit.
And the hope is the price going up is going to weed out a little bit of those like smaller, just like I started my brand in the garage. Let me, pump and dump real quick.
Yeah. That's another question. Like, okay, prices increase. This is definitely going to hurt the smaller brands more than the bigger brands. It's going to kind of hurt that or increase that barrier to entry. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think about like some of the smaller, like, when we talk about smaller brands, I don't think they're actually that small. There's a lot of brands that like we've never heard of that are just, they might go under. But I think some of the smaller brands we talk about, this is actually going to affect them a lot less than we think. Like it still sucks. And their prices are probably going to, like, I think the era of the $89 great paddle might go up. It might be $120 next year.
Yeah. I wonder if paddle prices are going to get jumped up a little bit.
I would think the lower brands would go up more than the high. We'll see.
So you're talking like the 11624s, the Vatic Pros, the PIKKLs.
Exactly. Like some of those way more budget, like the budget might change.
Yeah. I wonder if it will. Like, I don't imagine prices changing for a Selkirk or a Yola.
No. Like $333 for a lab, I don't think it's going to go up.
Right. But they also have their like mid-market budget paddles that are in that 100 to 130 range. I don't think they're going to increase those.
Well, no, then I wonder like if they're like super rec play paddles or even going to, like if they even bother getting them approved anymore. Like with some brands, like the super entry level, not like $50 paddles. Yeah, not like Halos, but like Latitudes.
Yeah, why even get those approved?
Exactly.
Is that person even going to play in a tournament?
Exactly. Like they're not going to use it in a tournament.
And if they do, it'll be like some local charity thing where they probably don't even care.
True.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you probably could be a little more intentional with
what you get approved. Yeah, and that actually would probably make up your cost. I mean,
I saw this really interesting program from Body Helix about
the Flick.
The Flick.
I messaged him about that. I like that.
Well, I thought this was really clever actually. So this new program from them is they came out and said, we're going to make prototypes that we don't submit for approval so we don't have to pay this money, but we're going to sell them as like an R&D type project. So they'll make limited runs. People can buy them. They can give feedback. They'll sell them for as cheap as they can. And I thought that was clever. Like rather than getting everything approved, like they just kind of do this faster iteration, faster, quicker feedback. Once they land on one that a lot of people love, that they go get it approved.
Exactly. I messaged Fred. I was like, dude, this is a great idea.
I thought it was clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that from Body Helix. I think that was a smart move. You could see more people do that. Yeah, you're right though. Like on the smaller brands thing, like when we think smaller brands, like these are brands that have made it to us and we're talking about, so they can't be like they're not tiny.
Exactly.
Although there are some that kind of sneak up that way, but not many. There are more paddles and companies we've never even heard of.
Absolutely.
Never even touched or even thought about.
Remember, there's thousands of brands.
There's thousands.
We probably talk about 30 or 40.
You're right. And so those brands might be, the new brands, mom, dad, family, still have a full-time job, said I can go make a paddle better than what's out there. Dude, I get this. I don't know, I'm just laughing right now because I get this pitch all the time, like a weekly basis. Like this is the number one pitch I get from like new brands that reach out to me. I wanted to create a brand that had the best performing paddles at a budget friendly price that doesn't hurt the wallet. Like that pitch, that idea.
You're like, I hear that 12 times a day.
I hear that like multiple times a week. I'm like, first off, people have been doing that for years. Like this isn't like a new concept that you're coming up with. And like and then they're like, we have $140 paddle. I'm like, there's
a lot of
there's popular brands that make paddles cheaper than that are really, really good.
Yeah.
And probably yours aren't any better than. Anyways, I just think it's funny that so many people are coming in like that's their pitch. Like this is why we're going to be great. Like that day's gone. Like those people are here. They're established.
You got to come in with like your marketing's insane. Like Friday and bread and butter. Like you got to separate yourself somehow because I don't think you're going to separate it by bringing a performance paddle at a budget price anymore. Yeah.
Which is what a lot of people think is going to do it for them. And I'm just like, it's not doing it for me. I'm sorry. Maybe a few years ago.
You're like, good luck.
Okay. Last question in regards to this. Does this put USAP ahead of UPAA or vice versa?
That's a tough question. So APP just announced they like doubled their events and APP still aligns to USAP. So I still think we have like a governing body war going on. I think the average player, like in my like total numbers, I think USAP is ahead. If you're talking total numbers of pickleball players, I think they have more staying power.
I agree. I think if I were to pick one that's in the lead, I would say USAP.
And it's weird for me to say because I feel like they've never been transparent, but with this release of stuff to like manufacture, like this is the most transparent I've ever seen them since I've been playing.
But like we get this information from like our friends from manufacturers. Like it's not USAP giving it.
USAP doesn't watch our podcast. They don't give us any. I bet we could get a call with Carl and get him to like.
We probably could. I've had conversations with like you and Chris about this, and Carl's always. I think they have better relationships with Carl than I do, but like I've talked to Carl before, and Carl's like, yeah, like I'm an open book. Email me, and they're like, yeah, we email you, and then we don't get a response
for months,
for like weeks sometimes, and like I needed it for the podcast that I was going to record in 2 days. Like, I just don't get the information fast enough, and so it's kind of funny that like they're perceived
I feel like they would lean on us to get information out.
Yeah, like we're maybe not. Like between our 3 podcasts, like it's a good outlet.
Yeah. I mean, if you go between like us, Q, and Chris, that's over 30,000 viewers per week.
Yeah. And like you get the dink on there, like, they talk about this
massive,
stuff. Like, yeah. You get like their top handful of podcasts are kind of like the news outlets right now.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like they should partner with the Dink and just like push it out via their newsletter.
Something like that. Yeah.
I hope you're watching.
Anyways, I do feel like USAP, I think,
slight edge
has the edge, and like their documentation around the testing was pretty impressive. And like, if this is how I felt like it should happen versus kind of that rushed, kind of what UPA.
Well, UPA just announced a difference in deflection. That's it. And we've already seen the deflection test. Just pushes on the paddle.
Yeah. So we'll see what and how UPA responds, because they're going to have to come out with something like this soon as well.
I would like to see the documentation from UPA on their spin test.
Yeah, we didn't get a very thorough explanation of that.
Maybe they sent it to manufacturers,
but we never saw it.
But I feel like a manufacturer would have sent us that information because I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I imagine, like, based off of this experience with the release of this information, I imagine they'll do something similar for the spin test, which is planned for Q1 next year. Yeah. That's what they said.
They didn't say the number. Like I know UPA announced the number. I don't think USAP announced like an RPM.
No.
EPA was the 2200, just pulled out of the air.
Yep. So. All right. Move on to section 2, or our last section here. Paddle Babble, brought to you by Kitchen Pickleball Bags. These, dude, like we praise it every week. It's very easy to praise, very intuitive, feels like it's made for you, super durable, high quality. If you haven't checked these out, I'll put a link in the description. You can use the code PBEffect to get a free add-on, whether it's a shoe cube or this paddle sleeve. I think with like Christmas and stuff coming around the corner,
we're going to get some deals for our listeners.
We'll get some deals. And like, this is like the ultimate gift for any PB player. Cause like, this is going to be a win no matter what. Like it's that good. You don't have to ask them if they want it.
Exactly.
They're going to love it.
Yeah, it's not like buying somebody a paddle and they're like, thank you, but it's not the paddle they want. Like everybody would be happy with this.
Yes.
Like,
this is like a surefire win for,
I'd be stoked.
The pickleballers
in our lives.
I
was like, if somebody bought me one of these for Christmas, I'd be like,
you're thrilled.
Like, you've been watching some YouTube.
Like, good job, partner, life partner, or friend, whatever. Anyways, go check them out. Phenomenal bags.
And he's got some stuff in the works right now too. I don't know if you've been following him. He's trying. Did he send you any tape?
No.
Okay, I got some, so I'll give you some. He's working on like some vibration. He's got his hands in a lot of things. He's killing the bag though.
Killing the bag.
Stay with the bag. But I love Grub. He's always thinking.
Sometimes I wonder what Grub's doing.
He's never settling.
Yes, that's his motto.
He's always pushing it.
All right. Paddle company tier list. So
all right, let me pull mine up.
We decided to do 4 tiers. So because we did 12 brands, 4 tiers. We have S, A, B, C. You know, I had to look up what the S meant. Did you know what it meant for like these tier lists?
I don't know. What's funny is I work for a Japanese company and that's the top always is S.
Is S?
So is it super? I don't know.
Yeah, it's super.
Okay, that's what it is. That's what I thought.
It's like a gaming thing.
No, so my evals at work as an engineer is SABC.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. that was why I said it. It's just what we go off. That's funny though.
Anyways, this like there's been a few other tier lists that people have done and they always do SABC. So we're going to follow that. Sometimes they'll go deeper than C, but we just did the 12 brands. So we're doing these 4 buckets. You know, I think there's a few more brands we could have included. We may have to do like a follow-up or build on this down the road.
Don't have your feelings hurt if we didn't pick your brand to be in this list because there's a lot of brands.
I'll give some honorable mentions, but I wanted to, get some of the more well-known and kind of a variety of, like we needed some C's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Anyway, so we got 12 brands. These are the brands we did. We have 11624, PaddleTech, Vatic Pro, Selkirk, Carbon, 60, Volair, Bread and Butter, Engage, Yola, Gearbox, and ProXR.
Okay.
I'll give some honorable mentions for a few we left out that I'm like also excited about. I think are companies to watch out for. So how do we want to do this?
So I think we just go S tier and then you give yours, I give mine.
And then debate it.
And then we'll debate it a little bit and then we'll go down the tiers.
Okay. So I had 2 in the S tier.
All right. I have 2 in the S tier too.
I have 11624.
Oh my gosh.
And PaddleTech.
Me too.
You had those same 2?
Yes.
Okay. That's not a bad thing.
That's hilarious though.
Okay. What was your reasoning for those 2?
Well, what's funny is like up until this point, I would have never put PaddleTech up there. I've never really been sold on PaddleTech, but like their last couple releases are not missing. They fixed their crappy handles, their warranties lifetime. I haven't used their warranty, so I don't know how easy it is to apply, but it's a lifetime warranty. I've heard it's easy. And the paddles have just been solid, and they're not going to delaminate because they're still Gen 1.
Yeah. Yeah. They kind of landed on gold with this Bantam. Like it was just launched at the perfect time. Like they finally updated. Like it took them years to do a simple carbon fiber face. And I think they've iterated on it a couple times. And the one they're at now is really solid. The spin's really good. The performance is there. And they're unique with like the power pop they're generating, the lightweight, the balance of them. And then, it's just like the durability is a huge factor.
So that's funny.
So yeah, that was good.
I used to make fun of them because they didn't have the carbon fiber. I was like, oh, look at that nice dinosaur paddle you got.
Yeah, they finally did it. And yeah, so I have them as the one con is the pricing
is pretty high.
But like at this point in time, while we're doing this tier list, they're unique.
My argument for those prices though is the warranty.
And US made.
They are building in the fact that you're probably going to warranty the paddle at some point, I think.
Maybe.
So.
All right. And then 11624, I kind of debated whether I was going to put them in the S tier, and I'll give you my reasoning and then you can tell me if you agree or not. So their last couple of release, like the Monarch series was
Very
solid, very good. Filled a gap. I love that they do their custom shapes. And then recently he sent out an email of like his future plans. Did you get that one?
Probably not on David's email list.
So we need to get you on there because it was pretty good. And so he was kind of laying out what his future plans are for his lineups, how he's going to do things. And as I was reading this, I was like, if I were to go make a company right now and come up with like a game plan for my paddle lineup, like he did it. Like he wrote down what I would write down. So he's going to categorize everything to 3 buckets. He's going to have a control, all court, power category. He's going to have 3 shapes. He's going to have a wide body, hybrid, elongated in each section, and then all his paddle shapes are unique. The handles are all a little bit longer. Like everything's very progressive, and like he does his own little unique CFC. You know, like face technology. Like everything's branded. Everything's, you know, other than kind of some of the naming conventions, which he's fixing, is really, really solid. And I'm like, it's going to be really easy to shop with him. He's going to have a very complete lineup. Yeah. And like, if I were to go invest in any one of these companies right now, I think I would put money in 11-6-24 because everything just made so much sense. And almost every paddle release has been really solid. And another thing that really impressed me with this email was he's like, I'm going to remove the Kevlar versions. He was kind of chasing trends a little bit with those Kevlar releases. And he's like, it just didn't differentiate itself enough from the other paddles I had. I'm taking those out to remove confusion. And so I thought that was really clever. Like he's done with the trend chasing. He's established. He's like, okay, now I'm going to go lay this out in a really smart, intuitive way. And I just feel like the sky's the limit for him.
I also think it takes a lot to actually realize that, like to look at that and be like, you know what? I don't need that and pull it away. Like some people wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's like he's still selling some. Like it's still money, and there's still people that like really like those paddles, and he's just like, it just doesn't fit in the future. And so really, really impressed with stuff that come out now. And then particularly what sold me on the S tier for him was like this future plans and what he's going to do there. Hopefully they can clean up the website, make it a little bit prettier, get some new images and like make that a little more user friendly. I think his website could use a boost, but like once he'll get it all figured out. Like right now, I think it's mostly just him and maybe 1 or 2 other people.
Yeah.
And once he's got to be making money. Like he's got to be doing pretty good. And so hopefully, you know, that gets invested in some new people to come in and help them blow that thing up because I like their future. What was your thinking around 11-6-24?
My main thing is like, one, the Monarchs are sweet. His paddle releases have all been good. I like them all. The pricing's ridiculously good.
Yeah, the pricing's solid.
But like I follow him on like social and just like watching him, like he is the brand owner and he's like deeply invested in R&D, which is impressive to me because not all brand owners are as into pickleball as he is into pickleball. So he's like trying other people's paddles and I just love like he wants to make good stuff and he's making good stuff at it's kind of cliche as we just said, he's making performance paddles at a budget price.
But he was one of the first. He was like when that was a need.
I was like, but he's already established himself. No, I'm just really excited to see what they come up with. That new color of the Monarch was like super sweet, like the royal.
Starting to expand colors.
Yeah, exactly. Which that's actually huge for selling paddles. Like I have somebody that ordered $10,000 worth of paddles because of colors. She wanted pink paddles.
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. And like that just takes capital, it takes SKUs because you have to store all that. When you have 3 colors of one paddle, that's 3 SKUs. Like people don't like it looks like one paddle on their website. But it's like 3 separate products.
No, and like one might sell and one might not sell. Yeah. So that's another game.
So you have to have some capital and money to do that. And that's definitely a different differentiator.
Exactly.
Anyways, I think, that's funny. Okay. A, what was in your A?
So for A, what do I have? I have and I'm basing this off like this year. I actually put Ronbus.
We don't have Ronbus as an option.
Oh, did you not put Ronbus on there?
No.
Oh,
they're not one of our 12.
Oh, I thought you had them on there.
No.
Well, did you originally have them on there?
I had like 4 brands. I was like, if we did more, I would throw these in there. Ronbus was one of them.
Sorry, Ronbus.
If you were on here, you'd be A.
At least in Kyle's eyes.
Like we totally could have added a few more brands.
Well, but it is tough because I feel like there is still questions on that because I'd be basing my stuff off that paddle that's still in everybody's eye. It's not officially released technically.
Yeah.
So then I have Yola and Carbon.
Okay. Well, we got a lot of differences here. Okay, I had Bread and Butter,
Okay.
Engage, Carbon, and Vatic Pro.
Oh, okay.
All right, very different.
That's
okay,
funny. I have them all in B.
let's argue yours first.
Well, again, I'm not a huge lover of Yola. I do think they break easy, but I have to give them credit because I do think they were pushing the bounds of the power of paddles the fastest. So I am mainly putting them up there as being innovators. I think that they pushed the paddle game extremely quick. All the shady stuff that went down, I'm trying to like leave that out. Like I'm trying to leave my, conspiracy theories away.
Okay.
But they came out with lots of shapes, lots of paddles, different paddles, and they were just super hot. And they changed the pro game.
They did.
I'm just gonna say they changed the pro game.
The amateur game too.
So exactly. If you go look at big tournaments and you look at 4-5 and 5-0 podiums,
A lot of mods.
there's a lot of mods and just a lot of Yola in general. So that's what made me put them up there.
Okay. I can agree with all that. I had Yola in B. That was a tough debate for me between A and B.
Me too.
And the reason I put them in B is because of some of this conspiracy, like the UPAA thing, I think makes it tough. Like they're kind of just like, they had the beef obviously with USAP. Like that was millions. Like I understand why they're so mad at them, and why they're not going that way, but it's really tough on the consumer to only deal with the UPA certification. Like I have multiple conversations with people who are like, I want to play with the Yola. I love that paddle, but the UPA thing is like, it's just not accepted in a lot of terms right now. So I can't get behind it. And so that, and then like just customer service, man.
Yeah. I've heard a lot
of nightmares with their customer service stuff, both from like retailers and with consumers.
I just got one.
That's tough.
I just got a complaint about their customer service on my drive here.
And so I think that knocked them down a little bit for me.
Yeah.
And then the last one was like quality control, and then like prices and warranty. Like they're $280, and then it's a 6-month warranty. And so those things knocked it down to the B. But I do agree with, yes, they changed the game. I do think the paddles play and perform really well. I do think these new 3S's are more durable. Like there's a lot of good things about them that could definitely qualify them as an A. But for me, I put them in B for those other reasons. Okay, what was your next one?
What did I have? I had Carbon.
You had Carbon in A?
I did have Carbon in A. One, just because of what I've been told about what's coming out, but two, because like they have some of the oldest paddles that are still like relevant. Like Carbon, I mean, how old is the?
It's a couple years. It came out early 2023.
They're still all over the pro scene.
That was like January.
They still play good. I mean, I've had good experiences talking to their customer service type people.
Yeah, really solid customer service.
They're going to be in it. Like they have some innovation coming. So I guess that's almost me just betting on the futures.
Yeah, I was kind of that way too. Like I think Carbon, I had them in A as well. Carbon could easily be an S tier a month from now if they ever decide to release their True Foam. That has been so frustrating. Like I remember them emailing and talking about it early this year, thinking like
that it was coming soon.
February, March, April, May-ish, and it just keeps getting delayed. So that's been frustrating. And I do think are going to take a hit. Like some of the hype and things around the True Foam
starting to fade.
And then like comparable paddles are starting to release now. Like you have the Paddle Techs, you have like you have the Ripples now, like you have these kind of comparable paddles that they were going to be the first of. And now they're not the first, and they're going to have some more competition when they release. And so now like the appeal to these True Foams, while still exciting and interesting, isn't quite as big of a deal as maybe if they released it 4 months ago. So I think that's kind of holding them back from an S tier right now. But I do applaud them for not following trends. Like they following trends is fine. Like I don't want to say, oh, don't do what's popular. Don't go make a polyester, like
titanium colored polyester paddle.
Like those are like they bring new attributes. But I do think some brands hop on those a little too quick, hoping to make a quick buck rather than thinking, I think this is the next best move for performance, for technology. Like Kevlar, pretty much anyone who released the Kevlar is just like it was a trend.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I don't think that changed the performance enough of the paddle to like call it a whole new like line. And I don't know, like it was more of just the kind of a trendy thing. And now if you release a Kevlar with different tech, like cool. But I think Kevlar is like itself wasn't enough to like, I'm going to go make a whole new line around this without some sort of other like reasoning behind it. Maybe if you're a new brand, it was your first paddle, fine. But I do like that they don't just like hop on these trains because they think they can make a few bucks. Like
they've stuck with what they're
good at,
what they believe in.
What they believe in. And so I think that's cool. And maybe for them it was because their name's Carbon and they can't do a Kevlar. I don't know. but I do applaud them for being like more selective with like new releases and stuff. And their R&D, we've talked about their R&D program, like it is second to none. I think no one beats them. And when it's released on how they're doing their R&D, everyone will be like, wow, this is really cool. And they're going to be S tier pretty soon, I think.
We'll see. Send us one.
But at the same time, also their current while they still play well, like there's a lot of really good paddles that play really similar that like $100 cheaper. And so like the price on those feels very expensive now for what you're getting, even though it is like a good warranty and they have like their 30-day thing. And so they could be a B right now.
They could. No. And to me, I was torn. Like, cause again, I'm thinking futures. So
yeah, it was kind of their future that like kept me from dropping them to the B.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have another one in A?
I did not.
Okay, so
did I? Did not. Bread and butter is a close one for me. We can talk about it because you put them in A.
Yeah, let's do bread and butter. I put them in A. You put them in B. I guess
I put them in B, but like I almost put them in A. Like I'm like to me they're in the middle of that.
Okay, so I put them in A for this is my reasoning. Like first, like I gave a lot of credit to like their marketing here. Like they're just so fun. You feel so connected to them as a brand. And they just do things so differently. Like I feel like so many brands are just like so serious of like, we're innovators, we're changing the sport. We have the best of the best, even though we have the same specs as everyone else. Right. And so like, they just lean into who they are. They're approaching it differently. And so like, I love that. Like no one else is doing that. And I don't know if anyone else could because Doug is so great.
Exactly.
And so like, that was really attractive to me. Like I love that. And then I'll before you can dive in, I'll finish that. But then their latest paddle releases haven't missed either. Yeah. Like their bread and butter, they were the first to release like the polyester weave, and they
that's my main paddle.
They took a risk on that, and that was like a hit, and that's like changing the market. Like we're gonna see a ton of those. So I thought that was impressive. Their Fat Boy was solid. Like that's a Kevlar paddle, but that wasn't like I'm following the Kevlar trend. Like they wanted to make a wide body, and you know, they like to do the design, they can get different color with the Kevlar. Like that was kind of their reasoning around it. And then they made a custom shape for that. Like I thought that hit. I don't think their line of performance paddles is super exhaustive, but I do think the paddles they have are good. And then they kind of have that mid-range pricing, 150 to 200. So it's not like out of the world pricing, but that's what got me into A. What held you from putting them in A?
Well, I think I want to change my answer now. I think you made me move today. I know this is the thing with bread and butter. That every paddle has like a story. Like they do it so differently. It's like they come up with a story.
That's fun, yeah.
And then come up with a paddle. Like the paddle has like
the paddle's secondary almost.
Yeah, it's wild to me. Like and
Doug has like a handful of stories in his pocket for the next releases.
It's so cool to me that like you could just basically give your paddle like that much character. So again, honestly, that portion to me is like S tier. Like as far as marketing goes, I don't think anybody can touch them the way they do that. I don't think so either. And again, I feel like if anybody tried now, it would almost just feel like an imitation.
Yeah.
So I feel like he came in and basically took that market. Performance wise, I mean, yeah, his last two paddles were solid. Like the filth to me was okay. Like it wasn't a bad paddle, and it wasn't too expensive. Shogun, I mean, that's my main paddle. It just feels like home. I love that paddle. I am a fan of the titanium colored polyester. The Fat Boy didn't hit with me too hard. The design's phenomenal and I love it. To me, it was actually a little too poppy for me, but I loved the paddle. Like the design and the story, it was hilarious. The donut, like, and even like the competitions he does, like everything around the brand is hilarious.
You're failing to convince me that it's a B tier.
I know. I told you. I said I'm changing my answer. It's an A tier. The question, I mean, I just have a question mark of what's next. Yeah. Like I don't know enough about the Invader that's coming out. It like, again, the marketing's hilarious. I heard something today from him that I don't know if I can talk about on the podcast, but he's doing something very unique with this paddle that will be really funny.
The Invader?
Yeah. We'll talk about it after the podcast because I don't know if he wants anybody to know. But I don't know. We'll see. as paddles go, because he's not big in the pro scene anyway. So I am curious of where they're going to go. Like if they're just going to be like, you know what, give the finger to like the governing bodies and just go rec play.
No, I mean, you have to get approved. Like, it's just part of the deal.
Yeah, I get it. But then do you get UPA? I mean, we'll see where that goes. But no, I'm going to change my answer. I'm putting him in A.
Solid. Okay. I also included Engage as an A tier. Where did you put Engage?
I put Engage as a B. They've just never.
You
go ahead. You want me to go?
You start this one.
I've only hit a few of them, and I've just never felt like I feel like they're below a Paddle Tech. I feel like they're the same price almost. Like they're not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
The durability, I've seen a lot of broken engages like at the throat. I don't know. It's like a tough one. I've never been that like it actually played well. Like the one we played, the Pro S1, like it plays fine. It's never really impressed me. Their marketing, their marketing's not crazy.
It's not.
I feel like they're just forgettable. I know that's like mean to say, but I just feel like they're kind of forgettable.
No, I can understand that.
Okay. Like, I don't know. I don't want to bash them too hard. Sometimes I forget Engage exists. I don't see a lot of them anymore. Other than a few of the pros on the pro scene. I don't see them at rec play. I just feel like they've kind of faded. And I don't know if that's because they have changed their priorities, but because I feel like we used to see a lot of Engages and I just feel like I don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
So
no, that's a good argument. Nothing you said I can like argue against.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like it is kind of a little bit of a forgettable brand. I think the reason I have them, at least my reasoning around the A tier was, like they have the good warranty. I do think their Pursuit series is pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like their EX and EX 6.0 are pretty unique where like it's like this kind of high all court leaning power,
Mm-hmm.
standard shape paddle that feels really soft. Like it has a very pleasant feel, but the power and pop is there. So I it's almost like kind of like the paddle techs where they have like this, like it's hard to carve out a paddle that is truly unique compared to the market.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they have a couple of those when they're pursued, particularly in the EXs. And then the pro ones are kind of like this lightweight, pretty decent power and pop that you only see a few of. And so like, I do feel like their Pursuit series, they have some paddles that are pretty unique and are really good. And that's, I think, what pushed me to the A. And then a lot of the other stuff checked out with like customer service and things, but like, yeah, their branding's not great. Everything other than their Pursuits, their paddles are just kind of meh.
Mm-hmm.
They do have some new kind of mid-market ones coming out that could be interesting. But yeah, that one could definitely be a B. I was pushing or deciding between those two, ended up putting them in A because I just thought a few of their paddles are pretty solid that you just don't see from everywhere. Whereas like a lot of paddles, like as much as I love Bread and Butter, you can find those paddles in other places or something similar. But like with the Engage,
you're not going to find the
same feel, same performance somewhere else. And so that kind of kept them there for me. Okay, that was Engage. I had Vatic Pro in A. Where did you put Vatic Pro?
I put them in B, but a lot of that's just because I don't have a lot of experience with Vatics.
Okay.
So I've hit the Prism Flash, and I think that's like the only paddle I've hit from them.
Okay.
So I just don't have a lot of like there. There's actually one brand I didn't rate, but we'll get into that later. Okay. But yeah, I think I just need more time. And then I know they had issues with their foam paddle, that Oni.
Mm-hmm.
So from my eyes, as somebody's only tried one paddle and kind of just followed them, I mean, what's next?
Sure.
They came out with a new color.
I'll give you my argument here. So this is another brand that so they kind of got popular off the thermoforming. They did establish themselves as like the performance budget friendly brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see 11624 and Vatic Pro as the leaders in like the budget friendly paddle space where you do have good paddles at a better price. And it's hard to beat those two out. Like I haven't seen anyone come in. It's like, of all the pitches I see every week, I don't see anyone that like, okay, you have one paddle.
Mm-hmm.
These guys have multiple paddles, good prices. And yes, they haven't come out with anything new for a bit. Like that, they did try the Oni. That one was, I don't know if it was rushed or if they're trying to just get something out quick, but yeah, that got delisted real quick.
Did you try one?
Yeah.
Well, I heard not only delisted, I heard people were having quality issues with them too.
Yeah, it just expanded real quick.
Yeah.
So they took that down real fast. But although they're not coming out with new paddles, like he's still been expanding his like he has multiple handle lengths on all of his paddles now. He has different thicknesses for every paddle. Like he's expanded what's working. He's like, okay, these Vatic prisms or these prisms are working. I'm going to give you more options here. These their orange Pro models are working. I'm going to give you more options here. So I do like that they have been expanding without releasing new paddles yet.
Just not reinventing the wheel and just leaning into his formula that he's got
just
right
leaning
now.
into what he's doing well, and they do well.
Yeah.
Like I think their paddles play well, especially like the value of that brand is really solid still.
Price is crazy.
The price is really solid. And so that's what put me them there. And then I just got an email not long ago of their next series coming out and it looks pretty interesting and definitely it's not gonna break. Like it's not a foam core paddle, it's something else. And so
you got some inside information.
So they got some new stuff coming out. So a little bit kind of based on the future of what they're doing there. And I really like the owner, Daryl. I think he's really sharp, really intentional, really smart. And I think he's done a good job of leaning in what he does well, kind of taking his time. Like he knows he's established. Let's not rush. I don't need to be a trend follower. I can be a little more intentional with my releases. And so that's why I put them in A. But to your point, like that's kind of that A, B, could go either way.
No, I feel like there's a couple brands where I'm like in the middle. Like,
yeah. All right. Who did you have in B then?
I got Valair and Selkirk and Pro XR.
Okay. I also had Valair. I also had Selkirk. I had Pro XR as C though.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Valair, I just think they're solid.
Mm-hmm.
I like the paddles. I'm obviously a huge fan of the Mach 2.
Yep.
I think the paddles they have are really good. They've been leaning into like more color variations, collabs, rather than like trying to push like paddle performance in a different direction. And so like they're a reasonable price, really good branding. I think they're like the box, the experience with them is really solid that a lot of people don't have. Nothing against them, but I don't feel like they have the wow factor. Though they're super solid across the board. Is kind of how I felt.
I would agree 100%. I mean, again, solid I played with the controls this week. Solid paddles. The designs are either for you or not for you. I mean, but there's nothing that's like striking to me as like performance wise yet. But the Mach 2 Forza has been a staple for a long time. And again, it's leaning into what works.
Yeah. And that they were one of the
first wide bodies, right?
They were one of the first like wide body with longer handle.
I thought so.
Combo. And I jumped on that. I was big. I loved it. I played with it for a long time. And I know a lot of people turned to it and had the same experience I did. And so like I feel like they were a big part of the push towards the trend for wide bodies this year. And they were one of the first. And I think they deserve credit for that.
Absolutely.
Okay. What was the next one you had? We both had Selkirk and B.
We both had Selkirk.
Why'd you have Selkirk there?
Okay, and Selkirk to me, like there's pros and cons. The pro of Selkirk is the warranty is unbeatable. Before I got into trying other paddles, I warranted paddles probably 10 times with Selkirk, which I guess could be a good thing or bad thing because I was breaking paddles. But their warranty experience was like so smooth. They just said like, that was a big deal. A con is definitely the pricing. I feel like it's very, very expensive.
Yep.
Pro is just tons of options of performance paddles, different handle circumferences, shapes.
They offer weight options. Stuff like that.
Exactly. You can get midweight, lightweight. Like I think you could even email them and get a specific weight if you really want to. Like
that's a pro. Sure.
They're basically tons of options. So that's definitely a pro. Con is I feel like they've been, and a lot of these brands too, I'm like, I don't know if a lot of people have been kind of waiting for these governing body things to like, but I feel like they haven't pushed the envelope in a long time when they basically push their brand as the brand that's pushing the envelope.
They brand themselves as like this innovative, we're changing everything, but that we haven't seen that in the last year and a half or so.
But they've been vocal against so then that's another thing. They've been vocal against the power paddles. And now I hear these new lab paddles are pushing the grit to last longer.
Yep.
So
yeah, I agree. I actually think their mid-market like Halos are really good paddles.
And that's a decent value, yeah.
And like there's good value there. But yeah, I feel like they've missed on their last few like performance releases. Like I thought the Amped Airs were pretty meh. And like the new Vanguard Pro, it's like little bump in like offense versus their, control Vanguard. So it gives you like a little variation, but like they're pitching that as like an all court paddle. And it's like, for 230, that's a tough buy.
It's expensive.
And so there's definitely that factor. And that's that kind of, and they've definitely shifted over the last year and a half. Like, yes, they say, oh, we're, like you feel like they're trying to say that they're performance leaders, but they definitely are hitting the 3.5s, 4.0s hard. That's who they're trying to sell paddles to.
Well, their paddles look great.
And they look great. And so then you can have the paint grid issues they've had with some of their like higher level, like that's been frustrating. Sounds like with their 007, they may have a solve for that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Have you spent much time on it?
Mine is sitting at the Flying Pickle. I haven't picked it up yet.
Oh, okay.
There's a dude that works for him that was playing in the tournament.
Yeah.
So he brought him.
Oh, he brought one. Okay. Yeah. They sent me one out today.
Okay, cool. So they could bump up the A, but I do think there are some of those just performance factors for me that is kind of keeping them back. And anyways, they're another brand that could bump up real quick.
Yeah. No, I think one paddle could change them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They need one hit on the performance side.
And then it would change. Cause again, they have a lot of stuff in their corner that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. They could get bumped up here. Okay. I had 6-0 also in B. Where did you have 6-0?
I'm sorry, Dale, but I have 6-0 in C, but
You got
only
it in C?
because I've never hit a 6-0. Is that I've hit hundreds of paddles and I think I've hit a double black diamond one time, like 2 years ago.
Okay. So you just don't know them.
Exactly.
Okay.
So my rating for them doesn't really count.
Okay. Well, I'll give you my reasoning for B and then you can add any context if you have any. So for me, I think their original double black diamond is still relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's a solid paddle. I think it's still their best seller.
I see it all the time.
Still see it. And I still recommend it. I think that paddle is solid, but and that's what gained their popularity, right? But like since that release, I feel like they've missed a little bit on their subsequent releases. The Ruby did good. A lot of people love the Ruby. I think it was fun. I had the red. It was like a little unique, but it was performance wise. I still thought it was very similar to the double black diamond. And they did like their edgeless series. I didn't feel like the releases were like trying to feel like a certain need within their like paddle lineup. There's a lot of like similarities across the paddles. That's kind of tricky to navigate and pick one. Yeah, I just think they haven't really hit another home run since the double black diamond. But that paddle's still solid, and I still think it's their flagship that's carrying them. But 6-0, we'll see what they do because they're everywhere. Like the sponsoring everywhere.
Yep.
Like they still sell well. We'll see what they come up with. But that was my reasoning around putting them in the B tier. Again, that's another brand that could potentially get bumped up real quick.
Got it.
Who else did you have in B? You had ProXR?
Yeah, I have ProXR in B.
So I had ProXR in C. What are your thoughts there?
I actually liked the new ProXRs. I think they did a great job with the colors are really cool. They did collabs with like all the MLP teams, and like I do like the offering. Like they have the Orlando Squeeze and like all the different ProXRs. I thought the Signature played really well. I actually liked it. A lot of people complain about the handle being really small, like thin. That didn't bother me, but I just thought this was kind of these newest releases was my first entry into ProXR, and I actually really liked them. They're gritty. They played well. The pricing is, I feel like they could be a little cheaper, but I just think they're solid. I don't think they're good enough to be an A, like in my eyes at all. Which is why I put them down there. But I just feel like it's a solid brand. And I do know they have that Paddletech-esque ProXR coming very soon.
Yeah, that one could be.
So I might be betting on futures.
Yeah, that's kind of betting on future. How do you feel about their pricing though?
It's a little high. Because what is it? Is it 230 or 240?
It's 210, I think, for these new ones. At least for the sweet spots. I'm not sure if they're
I don't know. I feel like they're probably leaning into the fact that they have a ton of pros to sell that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like the pricing's a little tricky to justify performance.
Yeah.
For me, it was kind of like Volair. Like, yeah, like their paddles aren't bad, like, but there's not like a wow factor.
No.
To me, it's kind of tough to justify the tag on those unless you're like a big, I don't know.
Unless you really want that color, though.
Unless you really want that color.
You
like
get the fives, you can get the options. Squeeze.
And they kind of have a little limited offering too. Like they basically just have the sweet spot and the
signature.
Yeah, and then 2 different
thicknesses. That's it.
And so they don't really have a ton of options either. Like
no, so that's a con. Yeah.
They still have all of their old handle paddles on their website.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they're selling those.
Wait, oh man, I always forget about ProXR being the
the
weird
their whole
handle.
story just cracks me up of like, they come in, they push this handle so hard. And no one's really buying it. It's not picking up. And then Zane comes in. He's like, yeah, I'll make a signature, but I want a normal handle. And then all of a sudden they start selling.
I totally forgot about that.
I've had a hard time getting behind ProXR and their paddles. Like they're fine. Like if you play one, like nothing against it. It's just like I don't know. They're just kind of mad at me.
We can agree. I mean,
we agree to disagree. On that one.
We agree with. we agree with some stuff and disagree with some stuff on that one. But
okay, that was. So I had them in C, you had them in B. Is that all your Bs?
That was all my Bs.
So the last one we have is Gearbox. I had them in C.
I had them in C too.
What was your thoughts there?
I think they're very expensive. I think they're extremely. I mean, a lot of my stuff's going to be based on what I think they can do better. I do think they're really head heavy. I don't think the branding isn't very good. I've heard in the customer service, I've heard it's not that good. Like I even emailed them about the one they sent me and I just never got a response.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm just like, if I can't even not that I'm anybody, but I'm like, I didn't even get a response to an issue I was having with my own paddle. Like I can't tell somebody to buy one if you're not going to respond to them.
Yeah. That's always tough.
Oh, so, I mean, mine was basically based on my customer service with them. I think they're very expensive. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I think I would need more time. I want to get that adjustable slice and put it on because that might change my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I think their Pro Power was really cool when it came out. Obviously, it was the first huge power paddle.
Push the envelope crazy.
That and their innovation is unique and really cool. Like you got to give them that. No one else has their paddle or anything even released that similar at all to like how they construct it.
Mm-hmm.
Which there are pros and cons to. So like I think they're one of the few brands that are like truly innovating and do something different and do something really cool. And so I do like that. But the sweet spots aren't great. No, the Ultimate is a bit head heavy. It kind of holds them back for me. And they're very pricey. They've had some, challenges like the durability of the Pro Powers getting too hot over time and things like that. And so those are things that are keeping them in C for me. Okay. That'll end the tier list. Some brands that we ought to include in the next one, because I think they're also very good. You have Ronbus. We have Course.
Yeah.
Course is another brand.
He's getting your buckets all set up, man. He's taking your...
He is doing a similar thing to 11.624, and obviously I'm a fan of it.
They're friends though, right? So maybe that's not... Aren't they friends? Didn't they like play a tournament together?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I think they did.
Anyways, and they have a new series coming out here in a couple months that looks really interesting. I don't have my hands on them yet. But Course is another one to keep your eye out on. Their Shapeshifter got really popular. I never...
You weren't sold on it? I love it.
You love it? I thought it was good, but I wasn't sold on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of put them on the map. Q obviously was big on that. He kind of got them popular or helped get them popular. And anyways, but I do like the direction they're going. I think they're taking full advantage of where they're at. Well, and the owner he's a smart dude. He's cool.
Yeah, I think they have nothing but up in their trajectory.
And then Pickleball Apes is another one. I think people need to keep an eye out.
I haven't tried a Pickleball Apes yet.
Okay.
I do like his Discord presence. He's actually fun. I don't know his name, but he's funny.
I don't know. Well, Ivan's the one I interface with.
Okay. I don't know if he's the one on the Discord, but he's actually pretty funny. So.
Yeah. Because their handle's just like
Pickleball Apes.
So I don't know if it's Ivan or not. But I do like the direction they're going. I think their new Pulse series is a solid control series. Kind of, we talked a little bit about last time. And then they also have some power paddles in the works. But they're now introducing multiple shapes. They're introducing categories. And I think, and then like their website branding solid. They do a really good job there. They have a few other products outside of like paddle. Like they have like, the apparel. They have some like glasses. And
the glasses actually look pretty slick.
Yeah. No, they look good. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's another one to keep your eye on. And then another one, Neonic has a new paddle coming out. I think it looks really interesting. But like I'm bigger on the future of Chorus and Pickleball Apes than I am like Neonic, though I do think Neonic, people should be talking about that more, especially with the kind of next couple of releases. But those are honorable mentions. All right. I think that's it for us.
That's all.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Have a great day.